Several years ago here at TED, Peter Skillman introduced a design challenge called the Marshmallow Challenge.
Several years ago here at TED, Peter Skillman introduced a design challenge called the Marshmallow Challenge.
And the idea is pretty simple. Teams of 4 have to build the tallest freestanding structure out of 20 sticks of spaghetti, 1 yard of tape, 1 yard of string, and a marshmallow.
Teams of 4 have to build the tallest freestanding structure out of 20 sticks of spaghetti, 1 yard of tape, 1 yard of string, and a marshmallow.
The marshmallow has to be on top.
The marshmallow has to be on top.
And though it seems really simple, it's actually pretty hard because it forces people to collaborate very quickly.
And though it seems really simple, it's actually pretty hard because it forces people to collaborate very quickly.
And so I thought this was an interesting idea, and I incorporated it into a design workshop.
And so I thought this was an interesting idea and incorporated it into a design workshop.
And it was a huge success.
And it was a huge success.
And since then, I've conducted about 70 design workshops across the world with students and designers and architects, even the CTOs of the Fortune 50. And there's something about this exercise that reveals very deep lessons about the nature of collaboration, and I'd like to share some of them with you.
And since then, I have conducted about 70 design workshops across the world with students and designers and architects, even the CEOs of the Fortune 50. And there's something about this exercise that reveals very deep lessons about the nature of collaboration, and I'd like to share some of them with you. So,
normally, most people begin by orienting themselves to the task.
Normally, most people begin by orienting themselves to the task.
Talk about it, they figure out what it's going to look like, they jockey for power.
They talk about it, they figure out what it's going to look like, and they jockey for power.
Then they spend some time planning, organizing, they sketch in, they lay out spaghetti.
Then they spend some time planning, organizing the sketch, and they allow spaghetti.
They spend the majority of their time assembling the sticks into ever-growing structures.
They spend the majority of their time assembling the sticks into ever-growing structures.
And then finally, just as they're running out of time, someone takes out the marshmallow, and then they gingerly put it on top, and they stand back, and ta-da!
And then finally, just as they're running out of time, someone takes out the marshmallow and they gingerly put it on top, and they stand back, and ta-da, they admire their work.
They admire their work. But what really happens most of the time is that the ta-da turns into an uh-oh.
But what really happens most of the time is that ta-da turns into an uh-oh.
Because the weight of the marshmallow causes the entire structure to buckle and to collapse.
Because the weight of the marshmallow causes the entire structure to buckle and to collapse.
So there are a number of people who have a lot more uh-oh moments than others. And among the worst are recent graduates of business school.
So there are a number of people who have a lot more uh-oh moments than others. And among the worst are recent graduates of business school.
It's amazing. They lie, they cheat, they get distracted, and they produce really lame structures.
They lie, they cheat, they get distracted, and they produce really lame structures.
And of course, there's teams that have a lot more ta-da structures, and among the best are recent graduates of kindergarten.
And of course, there are teams that have a lot more ta-da structures, and among the best are recent graduates of kindergarten.
And it's pretty amazing.
And it's pretty amazing.
Peter tells us, not only do they produce the tallest structures, but they're the most interesting structures of them all.
As Peter tells us, not only do they produce the tallest structures, but they are the most interesting structures of them all.
So the question you want to ask is,
how
come? Why? What is it about them? And Peter likes to say that none of the kids spend any time trying to be CEO of Spaghetti Inc., right?
How come? Why? What it is about them? And Peter likes to say that none of the kids spend any time trying to be CEO of Spaghetti Inc., right?
They don't spend time jockeying for power, but
they don't spend time jockeying for power.
Another reason as well.
But there's another reason as well.
And the reason is that business students are trained to find the single right plan, right?
And the reason is that business students are trained to find the single right plan, right?
They execute on it.
And then they execute on it.
And what happens is when they put the marshmallow on top, they run out of time, and what happens?
And then what happens is when they put the marshmallow on the top, they run out of time, and what happens?
Crisis.
It's a crisis.
Sound familiar, right?
Sounds familiar,
Okay.
right?
What kindergartners do differently is that they start with the marshmallow and they build prototypes, successive prototypes, always keeping the marshmallow on top. So they have multiple times to fix, and they build prototypes along the way.
What kindergarteners saw differently is that they started with a marshmallow and they built prototypes, successive prototypes, always keeping the marshmallow on the top. So they have multiple times to fix and build prototypes along the way.
Designers recognize this type of collaboration as the essence of the iterative process.
Designers recognize this type of collaboration as the essence of the iterative process.
And with each version, kids get instant feedback about what works and what doesn't work.
And with each version, kids get instant feedback about what works and what doesn't work.
So the capacity to play and prototype is really essential. But let's look at how different teams perform.
So the capacity to play in prototype is really essential. Well, let's look at how different teams perform.
So the average for most people is around 20 inches. Business school students, about half of that. Lawyers, a little better, but not much better than that. Kindergartens, better than most adults. Who does the very best?
So the average for most people is around 20 inches. Business school students, about half of that. Lawyers are a little better, but not much better than that. Kindergarteners better than most others. So who does the very best?
Architects and engineers.
Architects and engineers.
Thankfully. And 39 inches is the tallest structure I've seen. And why
39 inches is the tallest structure I've seen.
is it? Because they understand triangles and self-reinforcing geometrical patterns are the key to building self-reinforced stable structures.
And why it is? Because the answers triangles and self-reinforcing geometrical patterns are the key to building stable structures.
So CEOs, a little bit better than average, but here's where it gets interesting.
So CEOs are a little bit better than average, but here's where it gets interesting.
You put an executive admin on the team, they get significantly better.
If you put an executive admin on the team, they get significantly better.
It's incredible. You know, you look around, you go, oh, that team's going to win. You can just tell beforehand. And why is that? Because they have
You look around, you go, oh, that team's going to win. You can just tell beforehand, and what it is that?
special skills of facilitation. They
Because they have special skills of facilitation.
manage the process. They understand the process.
They manage the process, they understand the process.
And any team who manages and pays a close attention to work will significantly improve the team's performance.
And any team who manages and pays close attention to work will significantly improve the team's performance.
Specialized skills and facilitation skills, the combination leads to strong success.
Specialized skills and facilitation skills are the combination that leads to strong success.
If you have 10 teams that typically perform, you'll get maybe 6 or so that have standing structures. And
If you have 10 teams that typical to perform, you will get maybe 6 or so that have standing structures.
I tried something interesting. I
Maybe I try something interesting.
thought, let's up the ante once. So
I thought let's up the ante once.
I offered a $10,000 prize of software to the winning team.
So I offered a $10,000 prize of software to the winning team.
So what do you think happened to these design students? What's
So what do you think happened to these design students?
the result?
What was the result?
Here's what happened.
Who's the author?
Not one team had a standing structure. Not one had.
standing structure.
If anyone had built, say, a 1-inch structure, they would have taken home the prize.
If anyone had built, say, a 1-inch structure, they would have taken home the project.
So isn't it
prize.
interesting that high stakes have a strong impact?
So isn't it interesting? The highest stakes had a strong
We
effect.
did the exercise again with the same students.
So we did the exercise again with the same students.
What do you think happened then? So
What do you think happened then?
now they understand the value of prototyping.
So now they understand the value of prototyping.
So the same team went from being the very worst to being among the very best. They
So
produced
the same team went from being the very worst to being among the very
the
best.
tallest structures in the least amount of time.
They produced the tallest structures in the least amount of time.
So there's deep lessons for us about the nature of incentives and success.
So there's deep lessons for us about the nature of incentives and success.
So you might ask, why would anyone actually spend time running a marshmallow
So you might ask, why would anyone actually spend time running a marshmallow challenge?
challenge? And the reason is I help create digital tools and processes to help teams build cars and video games and visual effects.
And the reason is I help create these tools and processes to help teams build cars and video games and visual effects.
And what the Marshmallow Challenge does is it helps them identify the hidden assumptions.
And what the Marshmallow Challenge does is it helps them identify the hidden assumptions.
Because frankly, every project has its own marshmallow, doesn't it?
Because frankly, every project has its own marshmallow, doesn't it?
The challenge provides a shared experience, a common language, a common stance to build the right prototype.
The challenge provides a shared experience, a common language, a common stance to build the right prototype.
So this is the value of the experience of this so simple exercise.
And so this is the value of the experience and of this so simple exercise.
Those of you who are interested may want to go to marshmallowchallenge.com.
And those of you are interested may want to go to marshmallowchallenge.com.
Blog that you can look at how to build the marshmallows.
It's a blog that you can look at how to build the marshmallows.
Step-by-step instructions on this.
And there's step-by-step instructions on this.
There are crazy examples from around the world of how people tweak and adjust the system.
There are crazy examples from around the world of how people tweak and adjust the system.
There's world records that are on this as well.
There's world records that are on this as well.
The fundamental lesson, I believe, is that design truly is a contact sport.
And the fundamental lesson, I believe, is that design truly is a contract.
It demands that we bring all of our senses to the task and that we apply the very best of our thinking, our feeling, and our doing to the challenge that we have at hand.
It demands that we bring all of our senses to the task and then we apply the best of our thinking, our feeling, and our doing to the challenge that we have at hand.
Sometimes a little prototype of this experience is all that it takes to turn us from an uh-oh moment to a ta-da moment.
And sometimes a little prototype of this experience is all that it takes to turn us from an oh moment to a ta-da moment.
And that can make a big difference. Thank you very much.
And that can make a big difference.